Hello, welcome to the last episode of the series about Ernesto Bozzano 2025. We welcome you all. We want to thank you all also for being with us throughout the year. So we have here in the studio with us at this very beginning, Elsa Rossi. Hello, Elsa.
Hello, Munir. Hello, Caldini. Hello, Charles. Hello, our dear friends that during this year stay with us in this wonderful program. And today we are at the end of the year. Né? And for me, it's really with a deep gratitude that we say to Ernesto Bozzano and our benefactors. Thank you so much for this wonderful guidance that we had this year with your books, Ernesto Bozzano, and much more will come. Thank you so much.
We also have Alexandre Caldini with us here. Hello, Alexandre.
Hello, Moniz. Hello, Elsa. Hello, Charles. Good to see you all. At least twice a year we meet, right? It's a pleasure to be here again. I would like especially to thank Elsa and you, Munir, for the opportunity, not just to be here, but to understand and learn more and more about the classics of Spiritism. This year, Bozzano was wonderful to read his book and to understand a little bit more about his great work during his life. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexandre. And also Charles Kemp, our dear friends. Hello, Charles.
Moni, hello, Elsa, hello, Alexander. Indeed, very happy to be here again, talking about Ernesto Bozzano, after Léon Denis, after Gabriel Delanne, after Camille Flammarion, isn't it? And again, as Alexander just said, very interesting to know a little bit more in depth who was this man and the work he has performed during his mission here on Earth.
Yeah, it's very important because it's not just for the public who get to know about these contributions to Spiritism and to understanding of the spirit world and its reality, but also for us because, we learn so much when we just sit down and try to, digest the work and then bring in the form of slides and discuss. So, yeah, it's wonderful for all of us. So let's start just, to refresh our minds. The first talk we had that was back in January was given to us by Charles. It was the introduction and the biography of Ernesto Bozzano. I don't know if Charles wants to say a few words.
Yes, very quickly, and not to repeat everything. Basically, he was born in Italy in 1862, so during the codification, a couple of years after Gabriel Delanne, who was born 1857. And so he got interested in Spiritism in the 1890, more or less, and was facing several phenomena. And then he started reading, studying. He was reading the books from everywhere, in English language, in German language, in Italian language, French language, Spanish language, and so on. And he had really an encyclopedial knowledge about all the psychical research and also Spiritism. At the opposite of Flammarion, Bozzano was really deeply convinced about the communication of the spirits with the discarnated spirits with the incarnated. So he was believing in God, he was believing in the spirit, he was believing in reincarnation. And his very big specialty was, on top of doing some experiments himself, together with other well-known Italian colleagues like Cesare Lombroso and mediums like Zappia Palladino. He was one of the first ones studying the phenomenon through that medium. He was really compiling, making summaries, compiling facts, and organizing them by different themes in different books. So these are the books that have been presented afterwards. And he was also very strong in argumenting or answering to opposite arguments, you know. For instance, when René Sudre published his book criticizing metapsychics, saying that it is human, it has nothing to see with the spirits, then Bozzano really made an outstanding answer with arguments and giving 11 facts that he was challenging everyone, admitting the reality of these facts, of course, which are several, that could not be explained without a spiritual paradigm, without a spiritual hypothesis. And then he continued this outstanding work. So we have luckily a lot of his books translated into French. And he passed away. It was, let me see, during or just after WW2. Yeah, 1943. Voilà. So he's 81 years old. During WW2 is when he passed away. But he even so wrote some books. The three last books were in 1941, 1942, 1943. So he dedicated his whole life writing, argumenting, collecting facts, classifying them. And in this way, he brought an outstanding contribution to the Spiritist body of knowledge.
Yes, it's interesting, Charles, to see that, you know, just like Gabriel Delan, also Bozzano, he gave his contribution after the work of Kardec, because basically they didn't get to know Kardec in their adult age, you see. Mm-hmm. So basically they you know, brought to themselves the ideas that Kardec had presented the world, and went in you know, to do their own research. And so yes, very, very interesting. So we want to thank you so much for your contribution.
You're welcome. And in the meantime, I wanted to go to Italy, in Bologna, to visit the foundation and library Bozzano e De Bonis, which is still existing and open nowadays.
Wow.
But unfortunately, I did not have the opportunity to go there, but I will.
Yeah. Wonderful.
You know, if I might add something here, I was thinking
Please.
while you're saying, Charles, what happened to someone like Bozzano nowadays? Where is he? What is he doing? Because it would be wonderful if he could come and communicate with us again with all this knowledge that he has accumulated. It would be interesting to see his views now, from the other side of the view. Right? But as far as I know, I don't know if there was any psychography or anything from him. I don't know if you guys know something about it.
Personally, I don't, but I mean, he has done his job, and he's for sure inspiring us now to do ours.
True.
Okay. So then in February, we had our dear friend Alexandre Caldini. He talked about the book, The Crisis of Death. That was on the 2nd of February. So, Caldini, is there anything else you'd like to add to your talk?
Yes, I would like to, if possible, real quick, you give me 10 minutes, there'll be plenty. I would like to pass a few of the slides, actually all the slides I've used, but just highlight one or two points in each of the cases, because they are so interesting, Munir. Thank you, there sure. They are. So friends, as Munir just said, my speech was on February about this book, The Crisis of Death. This book was published in 1922, so more than 100 years now. And if you feel interested about it, you can find it in Amazon, both in Kindle and paperback, right? He started by saying the evidences. How does he know that there is something else apart from the material world? So he points three specific points. First, there's a huge alignment among different mediums and publications, different spirits. They all basically say the same. So for him, for Bozzano, this also helps to prove that there is something. People who didn't know each other saying the same things. Second, some of the mediums here is analyzed here, they were 100% ignorant on mediumship, on the spiritual matters, and still they said the same. So for him also, that was a proof of the existence of the spirits. And third, he said some of the mediums were very Christian, had a very strong religious beliefs. And some of the things the spirits told through them was in total opposition to what they believed in. So also he said that also helps to prove that there is something else. He studied 17 different cases on this book, and I do strongly recommend that you read it because it's really, really interesting. Very different people from very different backgrounds. Some are very religious people. There's a suicidal, there's a noble person, there's a total heretic. So let's take a quick look on some of these cases. The first one of a person who died, passed away, drowned. I would like to highlight 2 points here. First, it says, after you die, you have a panoramic view of everything. First, it's difficult to understand what that is, but it must be something really interesting that you can see a lot of your life. Not one single thing of your life is missed. It says, after you die, there's what he calls a restorative sleep, a period of time that the spirit is kind of like sleeping. It's kind of recovering from the life it had as an incarnated person and the death itself. And this period, it varies in length. If you're too old or too sick, or if you're a non-believer, or if you're nervous, if you're afraid of dying, this period will probably be longer for the restoration of your health. Case number 3, it's a soldier, and I would like to highlight 2 points here. First, this soldier says we can build our quote-unquote our house for ourselves in the spiritual world if necessary through our mind. You create through your mind probably a very materialized, quote-unquote, again, house for ourselves. And he says close to Earth, there's places, if we can call them places, because I don't think they're really physical, where you believe you're just like you have in your normal life. So that makes easier for a person to recover, not too traumatic, from material world to the spiritualistic world. This is important to me because I never was very keen to believe on things like Nosular, for example, these cities on space, etc. This book helped me to understand that everything is mental. So you can create something really, really similar to what you have in your life when you're incarnated, if you feel better, if you really need that, including food and etc. Case number 4, whatever you're thinking creates the environment where you're going to be after you die. Makes total sense, right? If you're more serene, if you're more calm, if you understand better life, you accept things the way they are, if you try to live with that and grow on this, your life is going to be much easier. It's just the logics again. Case number 5, it's a religious person, says, again, same thing. Where you go to depends on your moral, intellectual, and spiritual conditions. That's very important to us, to try to build to ourselves a better life, not by miracle, just by building in our minds the world we want to live in, to the point that it can be on earth, it can be here on earth incarnated, it can be in heaven or hell, depending the way you see things around you. Case number 6, this spirit said, what a weird sensation, knowing that to be dead, knowing that you're dead, and still being exuberant of life. That's very interesting. And you're going to find that in many, many of these examples. People say, I passed away, it's so good. I'm feeling so much better now without my body. So that's very good for us to know, because we should not be afraid of dying. All of them say, and also on near-death experiences, many people say the same, said, it was such a good feeling. I felt so well, so light, so joyful. So let's stop being afraid of dying. According to these statements, it's not a problem at all. Whoops, sorry. There you go. Case number 7, he says, once you die, you can access a much wider memory. And for me, it came as cloud computing, right? What's cloud computing nowadays? You have all the information in a place that you don't really know where it is, called cloud, right? Cloud computing, but you can access that, you can recover your memory. Same here. It says, after you die, you recover a lot of your entire life or lives. You have that ability that you don't have when you're here. Case number 8, a soldier again. He says people too attached to Earth, they cannot benefit from restorative sleep immediately. And he says these people who are too attached to Earth, they become the ghosts, the haunters, right? They stay around. That explains a lot of haunted houses, etc. Just simple people, simple spirits that are there. He also says something interesting. Take a look at the last sentence there. You can create duplicates of cigars, beverages, food if you need to adapt in an easier way. It's kind of strange, isn't it? But can be done. Case number 9, again, says he feel very well if he passed away. Something interesting, says when you see an object, imagine a box, right? A shipping box. You can see one side, the other side, under the upper part, inside the box as well. So the view that the spirit has, it's very different than ours. It's much more, much better, right? It's for us difficult to understand that, but it's important to know that everything is different after you pass away. Have much a wider view. Case number 10, a gentleman, he says, the state of our souls and thoughts have a significant influence on the deceased, meaning once a person in your family or a friend dies, watch out, be careful what you think. If you show too much depression, if you feel too sorry about that person, a person that you have not lost, a person that just has passed away, it's going to have a new life or continue his or her life, that can impact very much the person you say you love. Maybe you're doing something not so good to that person if your thoughts are not good for that person. Case number 11, a suicidal. That's a very important one. I think we should pay attention to this one, we spirits. It says, no one questioned about the way I died. I was warmly received. A suicidal was warmly received? Yes. I felt younger and full of energy, happy. Well, most of us spirits say, oh, if you commit suicide, you're going to be really in bad shape, you're going to suffer a lot. Not always. This is a different case. So it's important for us to understand that every single case is a different case, not to have one size fits all. It doesn't. He was not held responsible for the suicide due to his mental illness. I would say that most, if not all, suicidals are not well. They're not mentally well. So let's start to understand that in a better way, a more positive way, I should say. Case number 13, no traveler arrives in the spirit's world through the same door, meaning every single person has a different way to face the challenge of moving from material to immaterial world. Earthly life is just the most desolate part of our existence. Again, it's much better after that. This noble spirit, case number 14, take away from your mind that we're far away. We're not far away. We're closer to you because it's all thought, right? I'm renewed, more exuberant, lucid, and happier. Again, same thing. This is interesting. He says, my father and mother do visit me, but I don't see them any longer because they are much higher spirits in the level of their spirituality. So meaning that after a while, you're not going to be with your mom and dad forever and ever after you pass away. You might meet some of these people, but every single person has its own career, let's put it this way, its own road to go forward. So it's important to detach from this as well. For a person who was not so well, darkness and silence is a terrifying situation. Meaning that if you didn't have a very ethical life, it's going to be tough on you. Not because God is punishing you, because you're punishing yourself. He says, my iniquity was my persecutor ghost. There's none but one single law. Love, as simple as that, right? Suffering are all moral, not physical. Missing people, impossible desires, and deep regrets, you suffer a lot from that. So it's easy for us to understand what happened, and we should take care of that. The last case, it says, that's a bit more difficult to understand. Matter and space do not exist any longer. Past, present, and future are all one. Munir is a scientist, right, from physics. So for you, probably it's easy to understand. For me, it's totally impossible to understand that. But I can understand that it's difficult to understand. It's already an understanding. She says also, spiritual existence is not any longer limited by shape. You're not a person anymore. You're more than that. We're a conscious center of psychic radiation with an identity. Omnipresent and omniscience to the source where they emanate to. So meaning, if we don't understand this, it doesn't matter. It's just for us to understand that it's not like we are now. It's much better, much bigger, much wider. That's enough if we start to understand that. Conclusions. There's not just one way to move from this life to the next one. And some of his fundamentals here, spirits present themselves as human shape. For a while, sometimes we ignore we're dead. There's a panoramic view when you see everything. We are received by relatives or friends. There's a more or less what he's calling restoring restorative sleep, so you're recovering from your life. Environment can be radiant or oppressive, depend on you. Spiritual environment is analogous to Earth. It looks like Earth, not too different. Thought creates objects and scenarios, so you do create whatever you need if you need to. Thoughts is the language, and spiritual vision is sharp and amplified. We can transport ourselves just by thinking. And finally, the law of affinity defines our destination. So all in all, what we see on this book of The Christ of Death from Bozzano is that we should not be afraid of that. It's not a problem. It's just a new experience. Not new because we had before, right? But a fantastic experience. We should be prepared to enjoy it. We should prepare our road to this future we are going to have again and again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexandre. Wonderful. Thanks for your presentation, your wrap up of the book and the cases. It's interesting also to see that, some of the cases here, they are similar, if not exact, to other cases we see in other places as well, you see. So slowly we start to build this image, you see, of what is the reality of the spiritual world. And for us, so far, is the best way is actually to learn about these cases and what the different authors had to bring to us. And just go on.
No, Munir, what you said for me was just interesting. One of the cases, it was in 1857 when Kardec was just starting to study Spiritism. So he says, listen, this person was not influenced by Kardec. Kardec was not even there at that time, he says. So that proves also something more. And again, coming back to what you said, Charles said, Elsa said in the beginning of our conversation today, to study these classics of Spiritism is so, so important. For me, it was important because I saw here some of the foundations that might explain to me something I didn't really quite believe, which is Nosular and all these places that look very much like Earth. I said, that's a very weird concept. No, in 1922, he was already talking about that. So we should definitely study Bozzano, Flammarion, Delane, all these guys as well, perhaps even more than the books we're studying nowadays. They're very important.
Yeah. A one-off case may not make sort of much sense for us, but when it is in a large context, and that we only build that by reading the authors and so it starts to make sense. We start to create a better picture of the reality of spirit world and of course the interaction between the two worlds. So thank you very much, Claudine.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah, you took the trouble to prepare slides just to wrap up the concepts of the book, the cases, and so on. So
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So then in March, we had Dr. Vanessa Anceloni with us talking about mediumistic communication between the living. She couldn't be with us today, but she sent us a video. She kindly recorded it and sent it to us. So let's watch it.
Hello, dear friends. We're delighted to be here with you and the British Union of Spiritist Societies and friends, our dear speakers who participated in this year-long journey with Ernesto Bozzano. In our share, Ernesto Bozzano asked how the mind transcends the body. What if communication were not limited by distance? What if the mind were not confined to the brain? And what if consciousness could reach beyond the body, even while we are alive? These questions were explored by Ernesto Bozzano, one of the most rigorous researchers in the history of Spiritism and spirit communications. Bozzano was not guided by belief, but by method, much like Allan Kardec. After analyzing hundreds of careful, documented cases, Ernesto Bozzano concluded that spiritist phenomena, when examined with rigorous criticism, constitutes the strongest proof of the survival of human consciousness after the death of the body. But this study begins before death with communication among the living. Bozzano very interestingly documented cases of spontaneous telepathy in which people receive clear mental messages without intention or preparation. He also examined out-of-body experiences when people reported leaving their bodies, interacting with other living minds. For Bozzano, these experiences reveal the consciousness that can function beyond the physical body. And perhaps the most striking are the cases of mediumistic communication between living people, something that Kardec himself reported also in the Medium's book. In altered states of consciousness, individuals received messages from living acquaintances as if they were discarnated. When Bozzano compares the communications with traditional spirit mediumship, spirit communications, he finds remarkable similarities. Okay? But the difference is not in the mechanism, but the state of consciousness that is involved. This leads to the profound understanding that the mind is not created by the body. Even as a neuroscientist myself, though neuroscience still understands that the mind is created by the brain, we already have enough evidence around the world in many studies published and unpublished that the mind comes from the spirit, the immortal spirit. André Luiz, in the book Evolution into Worlds, ties this concept very well and tells us that the spirit creates the mind, and the mind will dictate everything for the spiritual and the physical bodies. If you want to see the studies also on Evolution into Worlds, 3 scientists together years ago put together this beautiful chapter by chapter study, which is in our Kardec Radio YouTube playlist, Evolution into Worlds. Check it out. Now back to Ernesto Bozzano. If consciousness can act beyond the physical body during life, then survival after death becomes not a belief, but a logical extension. Bozzano's research for us opens a doorway to deeper questions about who we are, how we communicate, and the true nature of consciousness. For students of mediumship, telepathic phenomena, this work is more than a study. It's an invitation to observe, to reflect, and to explore who we truly are. At the end of the day, friends, Ernesto Bozzano is talking about us as spirits. Thank you, dear Munir Gariba, for coordinating this with Elsa Rossi. Thank you, each and every friend who spoke and brought the enlightenment of these studies. And thank you, all of you at Kardec Radio, for this wonderful opportunity of learning together and serving for immortality.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vanessa. Wonderful. We are very delighted with, yet another contribution from her. I want to open to the other guests here with us in the studios if they want to comment about, some topic brought by Dr. Anceloni.
The only comment I might have is interesting to see her degrees, where she graduated and what she does in life, what you do in life. It's good to see very literate people highly educated into Spiritism. This is so important to the sake of keeping Spiritism a philosophy and a science as well, or as close as possible to those two sectors. I'm very glad to have people like yourselves on this. And I know many other people who are PhDs, post-PhDs, have master degrees. It does matter. I think we should be very helpful, very glad to have people like yourselves on this.
Yeah, thank you. I think this is thanks to the the methodology that all these authors they used in order to come to their conclusions. We know it's not just something that came out of their mind, but they went afield to investigate it, and that's the result of their efforts. Okay. If there's no other comments, so let's move to our next speaker, who was Roberto Watanabe from the Spiritist Federation of the States of São Paulo in Brazil. He talked about animism or spiritism. So he also apologizes for not being able to join us, but he sent us a video, which I'll share with you people.
Hello everyone. I would like to greet my colleagues and express how happy I am to be part of this bus team dedicated to sharing the foundational works of Spiritism. This year we had the privilege of presenting the works of Ernesto Bozzano, which were published in the early 20th century. As a philosophy of science professor, Bozzano focused on studying supernormal phenomena, which include both physical and intellectual effects phenomena. His research made a significant contribution to the Spiritist science and remains a vital reference for those studying Spiritism from a scientific perspective. I was honored to present the book, whose title is a question: Animism or Spiritism? Which explains the facts? Such question was posed to Bozzano by the board of directors at the International Spiritist Congress that was held in Glasgow in September 1937. At that time, critics of Spiritism argued that supernormal phenomena could be entirely explained by animism, the manifestation of living or incarnate spirits. Thereby, they denied Spiritism, which involves manifestations of disembodied or discarnate spirits. And throughout the book, Bozzano demonstrates that both animism and Spiritism are necessary to fully explain the supernormal phenomena. Therefore, the reality of Spiritist phenomena, where disembodied spirits manifest, was firmly established by Bozzano. So this is a brief summary of the book. I want to thank you for the opportunity to participate again in this important business bus initiative, and I am especially grateful to Elza Rossi and Munir Gariba for their efficient leadership of the project. I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a New Year filled with success. Thank you.
So we want to thank Roberto Watanabe also. He's always giving his contribution. We know he's got a very tight agenda, but he never denied any of our invitations. So we want to thank him very much indeed. And this is a problem in my perception. This question: is it animism or spiritism? You see, or spirit manifestation? There's no direct answer to that. We always have both, in different acting in different degrees, but we are living creatures, incarnated or discarnated. You see, we always take a role in any phenomenon that we are involved.
Munir, if I may comment a bit on that as well,
Yeah.
It's totally right what you said, but for me, the thing comes to this point. What if it's me? What if it's an incarnated person saying, not a disincarnated person say? Why it's a more appropriate thing if it comes from a disincarnate being instead of an incarnated being, right? The spirit that is incarnated might be even more wise, more educated, have a better views than these incarnated ones. So as Kardec says, we should pay attention to the content of the communication, not necessarily where it came from.
Yeah.
And Munir, maybe
Yeah, sure,
also
Charles,
add a
please.
little bit. That was a big doubt always Camille Flammarion always had. Huh? It can come from me, he was saying about his own mediumship, and not necessarily does not prove me that there is a spirit from outside uh, influencing something here. And Bozzano, in his book, this animism or spiritism question was risen also in the 1870s through Alexander Aksakov, another researcher. And both came somehow to the same conclusion as Bozzano. I mean, we are an incarnated spirit. And this is how spiritism could not go without animism. So both are necessarily linked together. But some cases, of course, animism can explain a lot of spiritist communication, but not all. In some cases, the independency of the spirit is absolutely demonstrated, and this shows that the only explanation which can only the spiritist hypothesis succeeds in giving an effective explanation of the facts considered as a whole. Isolating some facts, this can be explained like this, that one can be explained like that, this one can be explained through animism. But what is the explanation who can explain all the facts? It's spiritism. And I would even say, if we would follow the principle of parsimony, the simplest explanation is the one on which we should give priority. And the spiritist explanation is extremely simple. Does not need to have complicated stuff of a kind of a memory that some people can access in some cases. No, it's much more simple. That individuality is coming and influencing you. It's much more simple than any of the other explanations. And this was also one of the big demonstration that Bozzano brought in this, amongst others, in this Congress in Glasgow, and also in this book.
Natural, Charles. It's natural. If you want or not want, that's it. It's natural and happens. There is not no other way to explain these kind of things.
Wonderful. Thank you all for your contributions. So let's move forward now. So then on the 4th of May, we had our friend Rafael Caldas. He talked about the book Cases of Spiritist Identification. So Rafael couldn't be here with us. He said he would try to pop in at some point, but since we are not sure he managed to make it, I prepared just a summary of what his talk was. So basically, the key topics covered by Rafael was, he said, Bozzano was an apostle of Spiritism and living encyclopedia, known for his inquisitive scientific approach. So he investigated phenomena personally rather than just taking sides, the traits Rafael highlighted as inspiring for modern researchers. So basically, he presented 5 cases. The 5 cases are here regarding mediums and regarding the people involved. And he also mentioned where he took those cases from. And he concluded that Bozzano critiqued that humanity often suffers from a lack of synthesis, meaning we struggle to accept new facts that contradicts our preconceived ideas. So his presentation concludes, or he concluded his presentation with a call to research with an open mind. So he so basically invites us to, not to have preconceived ideas in order to understand what Bozzano had to say to us. Well, and that applies to any other book that we may be reading. Okay, so and then we had Dr. Umberto Coelho. He on the 1st of June he talked about the book about human metapsychics. And also, he couldn't join us. Oh, let me add someone here to the studio. Hello, Donasisi, our
Hello,
dear
friends.
friends. Good to have you here with us.
Sorry to barge in, but I'm
No
happy to make
problem.
it.
It is a pleasure to have you here. We know how busy your agenda is, so uh, we could jump. I don't know if you're going to stay with us until the end of the program. Okay, so let's follow the chronological order here. We were talking about Dr. Cueda's presentation. That was in June, and I summarized, the key topics covered by him here. So he introduced as calling Bozzano as the most important Italian spiritist and philosopher, and always, he said, often mislabeled merely as a psychologist. He was a philosopher as well. So he talked about human metapsychics, focusing on Bozzano's critique of the book by René Soudre, titled Introduction to Human Metapsychics. And then Bozzano presents 11 unexplained phenomena. So listed 11 types of phenomena that materialist metapsychics could not explain without the spiritist hypothesis. And then we listed some here for those interested. I would invite you to go back to his talk, because he dives into the subject and gives more detail. So at the end, he concludes about philosophy and science, that true science requires checking evidence without prejudice. Dr. Cozzo argues that many self-proclaimed skeptics are actually pseudo-skeptics who irrationally reject evidence that fits the spiritist view. Again, another one talking about the importance of not having preconceived ideas. Okay, so, right. And then we had our friend Flavio Zanetti talking about apportation phenomena. That was on the 6th of July. And I brought to you also some key points of his talk. So he talked about apportation phenomena definition. He explained that apportation refers to the disintegration and reintegration of matter to transport objects like flowers, fruits, or even books from one location to another. The mediumistic, in the case of mediumistic session, through the intervention of spiritual intelligence. So the scientific context. So Bozzano's work, so originally was published in 1930, was based on vigorous scientific analysis of decades of research to prove the validity of these supernatural phenomena. So he aimed to eliminate fraud and demonstrate that spiritual intelligence were acting through mediums. He brought some cases. One of them is about the famous Scottish medium Daniel Danglas-Home, and theoretical explanation also for the cases presented. So they're saying that the phenomena explained not as miracles, but as natural laws, where matter is transformed into energy, vibration, and then reintegrated. So this requires a specific type of medium, psychical effect medium, or that we know, physical, effect medium, capable of producing the necessary vital fluids or ectoplasm. And his conclusions were, he emphasizes that while these physical phenomena were not common in the 19th century, were more common in the 19th century to attract attention to the reality of the spirit, they are less common today as the focus has shifted to moral and philosophical study. So, however, Bozzano's documentation remains a critical white crowd, using William James's analogy, proving that if even one case is genuine, the phenomenon is real. So this was a wrap up of Zanetti's contribution. It's open to comments if people here in the studio feel like making some comments.
Yes, Munir, if I may.
Yes,
On the
please.
very last sentence there, where it says, well, nowadays there's not much of this phenomena like apportation, as it was in the previous century, 19th century, actually. And there's more shifting to moral and philosophical study. I understand that fully, and I think it's the way to go. Still, I feel kind of sorry that I don't see anyone like Bozzano and others studying this phenomena. And for example, if even nowadays in 21st century, if we're able to understand how to move a physical object from here to there, that's fantastic. That's something that we're not able to do yet. So I feel sorry that I don't think we are using mediumship in a more scientific way. I don't see much study on that. There might be, but I'm not aware of, and I feel sorry for that.
Yeah, but in my perception, I feel that the day will come when this will be brought back to be studied in a laboratory in a serious way, Cody. I think in the 19th century, all these things happened to call the attention of people. And until today, we don't have a theory, not even in our sciences, that can give us a glimpse of what, could be the explanation for that. We know they happen, right? But I believe that when the conditions here on Earth are ready, are okay, these types of phenomena will be, will be able to, go to our laboratories and be studied in a serious way.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I don't know what the others think, but
Indeed, I
ectoplasm.
mean, if we could technologically master transportation phenomenon, it would be a huge progress with a huge
Absolutely.
applications. No
I would
need to
visit
take
you.
plane.
I would visit you, Charles, every
Instantaneously
single week.
transporting.
I would be tonight visiting you and Elsa. I would be going to France and to UK.
Exactly.
Today it would be still a big leap for humanity, but in the future, I think we'll draw both sides closer and closer, so it won't be that impossible. Okay, so we had Dr. Carolina Correa talking about premonitory phenomena. That was on the 3rd of August, and again, she apologized for not being able to be here with us, but she sent us a short video, which I'll play to you.
Hello, dear friends. It is a pleasure to be here with you once again, participating of our roundtable regarding Ernesto Bozzano's work. We would like to thank Dr. Munir Gariba and the British Union of Spiritist Societies for this opportunity. As a recap of the work that has been done, we are all focusing our attention on Italian Spiritist scholar and researcher Ernesto Bozzano, a prolific contributor to the Spiritist science inspired by Kardec, Leon Denis, and Camille Flammarion. The book of which we are going to speak tonight is the one regarding premonitory phenomena. Bozzano, being a wonderful researcher, categorizes the types of phenomena he examined. He examined a total of 162 cases, dear friends, quite impressive for a day and time when there was no technology to the same level that there is today. So, in gathering and analyzing these 162 cases, he categorized them in three categories. The first category regards premonitions about illnesses or death. The second one regards the illnesses of others, not oneself. And the final one regards premonitions linked to important occurrences not involving death. So, very extensive work that continues to prove to us that life goes on, filling our hearts with hope, knowing that death only applies to the physical vest, but not to our true selves. Also, together, illuminated by reason and faith, we go to the Spirit's book by Kardec to understand why premonitions take place. In other words, why is it that God sometimes allows for the future to be revealed to us? Because in God's perfect judgment, it is clear that the foreseen event that is revealed to us may facilitate the accomplishment of the goals that are already part of our reincarnatory plan. Because we are spirits living in a temporary physical existence, and because reincarnation is a school for the soul and not a vacation, everything in our lives serves a higher purpose, including the challenges that come our way. All of the challenges that come our way are there in order for us to grow spiritually. And to guarantee that we grow spiritually, all of the cases that Ernesto Bozzano brings to us regarding premonitory phenomena have certain particularities. For example, we learn that spirits influence our lives more than we can imagine. Time and again, Ernesto Bozzano documents this, corroborating Kardec's work. And we also learn, beloved friends, that we are never forsaken, that our guardian angels, as envoys of God, are always surrounding us, always ready to inspire us, and as illuminated spirits who have prepared our reincarnatory plan together with us, they are always ready to encourage us to new levels of understanding, new levels of spiritual progress, making sure that you and I can reach the reincarnatory milestones that we have reincarnated to reach. So we will close these moments inspired by Ernesto Bozzano's work, thanking him for the extensive research that he has done documenting the interaction between the physical and the spiritual realm, and reassuring all of us, as it is stated by St. Augustine in question 495, that as it was documented in Ernesto Bozzano's work, we can always count on our guardian angels as if we were relying on the best of friends with the same tenderness and trust that we would share with our most beloved companions. So we leave everyone with a message of hope, held in the certainty that life goes on, that no one is forsaken, and that God's messengers of love are always by our side, ready to inspire us and to encourage us to progress always. Thank you, beloved friends. Many blessings, and we truly appreciate one more year with many opportunities for us to learn together. Bye for now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Carolina Correa, also for her contribution. And, she's always ready to accept the challenge when we bring to them every year. So we are very grateful to her. So, following now, we had Thought and Will. This was presented by Dr. Shane Martin, and that was on the 7th of September. And she also sent us a video, and I'll share with you.
Dear friends, Dr. Munir, the group of the British Union of Spiritist Societies, and dear presenters of the series, Ernesto Bozzano. I first would like to thank Dr. Munir and Elsa for the invitation to get to know more about the work of Bozzano, and for the opportunity and always a privilege to teach you a little bit about the book Thought and Will. We are so blessed that we have the opportunity of studying with and learning from the pioneers of Spiritism. Without their dedication to the cause, you and I couldn't be here today, taking in all that it is to know while it's still incarnated and taking the advantage of having these teachings to guide us through this lifetime. The book Thought and Will, in a few words, taught us that thoughts are creative forces, not only your thoughts, but also your will. What you will to be done and you think of it comes true. Psychological phenomena, the phenomena that occurs within the thoughts, within our minds, the spirit's mind, can become physiological, meaning in your body, and also material forms in this world. And that knowledge that your creative force of your thoughts and your will can create the life you want. Knowing that we are constantly thinking as spirits in the human kingdom. This knowledge of the book Thought and Will allows you and I to shape how we think today so that we can create the life that we want, the life that we need to fulfill our reincarnatory plans on this planet. The book was published in 1926, way before Emmanuel came and showed us through the book Thought and Life that thoughts are things. So I thank you, dear Ernesto Bozzano. As we know from the book After Death by Leon Denis, whenever you read a book, dear friend, whenever you listen to one of the talks from the many presenters of this series, you are communicating and enter into relationship with the author. So as you have watched month after month the many talks and absorbed many of the knowledge that the presenters imparted on us, you also was in touch with Ernesto Bozzano and his mind. So let us use our thoughts wisely and put our will to do what must be done by all of us in this life. That is God's will. I wish you that during this reincarnation, you can fulfill reincarnatory plans by creating beautiful thoughts of good, of well-being for all of the beings in your life and on this planet, and as well as in the universe. Dear friends, I thank you for your attention, for listening, for sharing, for liking, and doing all the things that allowed us to be here today at Kardec Radio. And again, thank you, Dr. Munir. Thank you, Elsa. Thank you to all of the presenters of this series to bring in us a deeper knowledge of Ernesto Bozzano. Thank you to the good spirits that allowed us to be here today. And I hope you have enjoyed this series, and I look forward to having many more in the future. Take care, dear friends. Bye-bye.
So, our gratitude to Dr. Martin also for her contribution. And, not just this year, but previous years as well. She's been with us since we started this different series about, different authors every year. And we want to thank her. So, moving forward now, that was in October, I talked about the book Primitive Peoples and Paranormal Manifestation. So, in a nutshell, I talked about this book, which was actually a careful study by Bozzano about spirit manifestation in what they called in those days primitive peoples, among primitive people around the world in different places, and magical properties attributed to certain people and certain objects. And during this careful study of serious documentation, Bozzano came to the conclusion that they obey the same laws as the spirit manifestations that we know, the ones described by Kardec in the Medium's book, for instance. So basically, people understood them according to their culture, but when looking in detail, what was going on was basically more of the same, as it were. Everything known to us about spirit manifestation, physical manifestation, and all the different types of mediumship in action, as it were, as described by Kardec. So I invite you all to go. That was in October, and also watch it. And if you can, read the book. It's very fascinating because we see amongst people of a different culture the same type of phenomena that we find or found in France during Kardec's days and all around the world, and has been happening ever since. But according to the culture, that is seen as something more magical, more fantastic. So, very nice book. And finally, in November, the 2nd of November, we had our dear friend Dan Assisi talking to us about the enigmas of psychometry. So, Dan, if you want to add a few words, please do so.
Yeah, thank you. I will be quick. First, thank you for the invitation and thank you for your patience. You can see I'm in my mobile office today. And that is because we just had an in-person celebration at the end of the year here. And so I'm really glad that I could make and see all of you. Celebrating Bozzano is always a great thing. It's always wonderful for us to go back and see those who have laid the road for us to understand things the way we do now, the shoulder of giants, right, that has often been described. And in this particular book, we find our wonderful exploration of two different kinds of phenomena that in many different ways are one and the same. And that's his presentation to us as well, is that phenomena of psychometry and the phenomena of telesthesia. And so the only difference there being, according to Bozzano's explanation, is the method by which it takes place. Psychometry then is the ability to tap into fluidic emanations that exist in a specific object to allow the psychic then, or the medium, to connect with the history and those who have possessed that object before. And telesthesia, on the other hand, is the ability to do that without the object. And so it's a fascinating exploration of how is it that some people are able to gather information about past places and experiences and get in touch with the history of people on their own, people and places and experiences that they have never known of being acquainted with. And it's really an incredible, mind-boggling, thing to be able to do that, to be able to tap into that knowledge, to that information in the past. And he explores that through many different cases, which he researched. As we see here, there is a thread in all of his books of the amount of research and cross-reference that he does from the sources of different people. At the end, he brings some considerations too, which I think are fascinating. Not only a connection to what sometimes called within the spiritualist circle as the Akashic records, which really, at the end of the day, in the spiritist realm, we understand it to be the universal cosmic fluid, which contains the information of all these things. So this tapestry, this incredible fluidic, energetic tapestry that permeates everything and keeps records of all these spiritual and energetic emanations. It is fascinating. It's a highly worthwhile endeavor to read the book and to think about how we are all connected in many different ways and how it is possible for us to understand that our experiences and our connections to each other transcend time and space. So if you're interested in thinking about how that could happen, he has many wonderful cases. One of my favorites on a personal note here is I remember this book in my home growing up, and I remember my mom when I was young. I must have been 10 or 11 years old. She was reading this book, The Enigmas of Psychometry, and I remember her being, bringing a wonderful sense of wonder about the book, about one of the cases in the book, which I think was really fascinating and stuck with me for a while, which is a case of a pigeon, a homing pigeon, that is taken away from his home, is taken on a train ride far away, is released, and then obviously climbs up to the skies and eventually is able to find his way home. How does that take place? How can this messenger pigeon find its way to its original place if it does not know where he went to, if his eyes were covered? How it tapped into the energies to kind of figure that out. And not only that, but also this shared experience of being afraid of being caught during the process. But all of these wonderful cases stuck with me. And so for me, Bozzano has always been a wonderful luminary of this research, of this attempt to understand how things happen in the physical world, and being willing to go beyond the mere physical understanding that sometimes limits us, and inviting the possibility of comprehension through spiritual means. And so it's wonderful to see that. And I just want to thank everybody again for doing all that you guys are doing, and for the invitation and for the exploration of this great luminary that teaches how to really tap and understand these different energies around us.
Thank you, Dan. You've been 100% with us in this project, so thank you so much. Right, so now we have some announcements to make before we close. And the first one I'll leave to Elsa to do it for us, please.
Wow, Munir. Exactly. After listening so many important books to the speakers and the videos that I was saying in the chat, so important because in such a 11 months, we learn and we know about more books that if you stay without preparing these lives, this series. But for now, as you mentioned, next year, series 2025-26, we have a woman, a Dr. Marlene Rossi Severino Nobre, that is very important to know more about this lady that give insights to us, to say to her our deep gratitude and emotion that I tell about her a little bit, or always a little bit, because the time is flying so quickly. But Dr. Marlene is an extraordinary woman whose life became a true service to science, spiritism, and humanity. She was a gynecologist, writer, and tireless researcher, and above all, a devoted worker for the good. She was the founding president of the International Spiritist Medical Association and also the Brazilian Spiritist Medical Association, and leaving an inspiring legacy that remains alive to this day. She returned to spiritual homeland in 2015, yet her work continues to be remarkably relevant. Her biography, Science and Spiritism, which will be presented in January by Dr. Vanessa Celoni from Virginia, United States, reveals in deep depth how Dr. Marlene was able to integrate with rigor and ethics the fields of science, philosophy, and spirituality, always guided by the moral teachings of Jesus. Dr. Marlene had a close and meaningful relationship with Chico Xavier, with whom she worked for many years, as well as with Valdo Vieira, her friend and fellow student in the field of medicine. From these experiences emerged valuable research and very special books, especially those grounded in the works of André Luiz, which she studied with seriousness, discipline, and a true scientific spirit. Allow me now to share a brief personal testimony, simple yet very meaningful to me. Wherever I traveled to Brazil, I stayed at Dr. Marlene's home in São Paulo. There, I was able to witness firsthand something no biography can fully describe, her daily example. Dr. Marlene would rise very early every morning and begin her day with study, serious, disciplined, and in-depth study of the works of André Luiz. From this quiet and constant effort came her reflections, her books, and her many contributions to Spiritist medicine. She never separated the faith from reason, nor science from love. Her life was living proof that Spiritism, when properly understood, enlightens the intellect, consoles the heart, and guides moral conduct. For all this reason, Dr. Marlene will always be a reference for all of us who love the Spiritist body of knowledge, as Charles always mentioned, in this threefold aspect scientific, philosophical, and moral, grounded in the teachings of Jesus, the physician of physicians, the greatest guide of our lives. May Dr. Marlene's example inspire us to study more, to serve better, and to live with greater coherence between what we believe and what we practice. Thank you all very much. Thank you for being here with us, our dear speakers of the year 2025 and the ones that will be in 2026. Pass over to you, Munir. Thank you.
Thank you, Elsa. So, very exciting project for next year. So I invite you all to join from the first Sunday of January. We'll start, as Elsa mentioned, with Dr. Anceloni, offering us a biography of Dr. Marlene Nobri.
Munir, I want to say that this flyer is changed already because Caldini will be with us, replacing Marcia, I can't read her name. Okay, Trajano.
Okay, all right. Okay, thanks for the update, Elsa. So we also want to thank Kardec Radio. Without them, without their support, their help in the person of Dr. Anceloni, we wouldn't be able to offer to you all these projects. And they are also 100% with us, offering all their support and congratulating us for this effort, which I, would like to share with you all people, giving of your time to bring your analysis of, books by these giants of Spiritism and spiritualism. And finally, a quick message of season's greetings. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you all. We want to thank you for being here with us and giving your support, and hope you that you be with us for our project next year. So, just final words from you people. Let's start with Caldini.
No, just again and again and again. Thank you, Muniz. Thank you, Elsa. So glad to be with all these friends here, learning about Bozzano and all those. I think Assisi said, or someone else said, the shoulders of Spiritism. It's so good to have these people and to learn about them. So thank you so much once again for all this opportunity. And Merry Christmas, Feliz Natal, Bom Ano Novo to you all. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Charles.
Yes, thank you so much for these opportunities, for learning and sharing all this knowledge. And the same, best spiritual wishes for 2026, and see you soon again.
Thank you. Dan Assisi.
I don't think I have a lot to add. I think that you have done a tremendous job of summarizing this. but I also just want to celebrate not only the effort, but the opportunity of having so many friends and different people come together towards a single purpose, which is shedding the light on, the wonderful contributions of people that have come before us, and just how wonderful it is to be able to see you guys every year, to listen to the talks. So thank you very much for all of that, and here's to another great year for all of us, a year of growth and learning.
Thank you so much. Elsa.
For me, Moni, only to say thanks God that we have friends shaking arms hand in hand and do this wonderful job every year. We are going now for this 6th year, yes? 6th year, 2026. Be with us, follow us, and see these wonderful talks, wonderful books that we will share with Dr. Marlene Nobre, because we are building up our biographies of these wonderful people, scientists, before. Thank you very much.
Before we go, I just want to thank you all, but special thanks to Elsa. She is the mind behind all these. She's always organizing, and she hardly appears, but her contribution is tremendous. Without her effort, her contribution in this wouldn't be possible. It's not a one person's work. We rely on so many people, and this is the result of all that. And the mind behind that is, I have to admit, is Elsa, just organizing everything, getting everything ready, and we just put the machine to move. Thank you so much, Elsa. Thank you all. So I wish all of you watching us, a happy New Year and a wonderful Christmas. For now, bye bye.
Ciao.
Bye-bye. Ciao.
Bye.